Hello.
How's it going, John? How you been?
I'm doing good. Good to see you. I think we've met once or twice somewhere.
Yep, I know we've. I remember um, a Zoom call with Carl during the pandemic
Oh, okay.
in the
All
early
right.
days there, and a couple of sessions with uh, uh,
Improv something.
yeah, Robert E. Lee and a couple I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Maybe that's right. Were you on any improvs groups, Zooms?
yeah, I was on a group that used to. They did a couple of shows. I don't know if you heard of Andy Abramson in New York City.
Not sure. Not sure.
He's had regular monthly shows for I don't know, maybe it's 5 years now. Yeah. And so a troupe I was in, we did some stuff for them. I also teach a Zoom class for seniors. Uh, that'll start up again in September. Uh,
What kind of
and a
classes?
couple of events with the applied improv, some of the open door sessions for Applied Improvisation Network.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done some Zoom improvs. I really like them, but too often they go to places where I really can't, so I
Yeah.
have to opt out.
Yeah, unless you know who's hosting it, and
Yeah.
those.
So usually what I do is I do Toastmasters improvs.
Okay,
Toastmasters is a little more professional. So yeah. So now where do you live, Jim?
I'm in St. Albans, West Virginia, a
Okay.
little town about 12 miles west of Charleston, the state capital. Um, I don't know, maybe a 6-hour drive to Washington D.C., maybe 9 hours to Philadelphia.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
All right.
yeah, yeah.
Good. Good.
Yeah. And actually, we're
So
having yeah.
well, I was going to ask you, what is the class that you're teaching the seniors?
Okay. That is Wednesdays at 4:30.
Okay. But what are
And
you teaching?
5:30.
Comedy?
What's that?
Are you teaching comedy or what?
Uh, Teaching comedy. Although this group has been together a long time, it's a mix. Okay, we have uh, good grief. There's a woman with a Mormon background, a non-observant Jewish couple, uh, there's one from Florida who calls in there, and I don't know if you know Paula Dirks. Okay,
No, I don't
Paula
think so.
Dirks teaches improv at senior centers, largely around the Detroit metropolitan area, but she's
Okay.
excellent. She's an excellent teacher. She actually had a course uh, in how to do a business related to senior centers. Uh, so
Okay.
so she yeah, and she participates sometime, and she's and I'm trying to think who else I've played with, played in the sandbox with. Margot Escott has taught some classes. She's out of Florida.
Okay.
Yeah, she's hers. Uh, Again, hers is not explicitly her. Well, Margot Escott is has several offerings. One offering is improv for uh, uh, people with Parkinson's and their caregivers. Yeah. She has one that's related to the 12 steps of AA,
Oh,
where she
wow.
tries to use games that illustrate principles of recovery.
Hmm.
Uh, then she's also got a fun class where everything is all the games are around noir films. So you try to
Okay.
so all the games and characters are based on the noir tropes and stereotypes.
Yeah, things that that generation would get, right? Hi, Ed. How you
Hello,
doing?
John. Jim
Glad
Bob.
to have you.
Yo, what's up, Doc?
So it's the heat, the temp, the heat, humidity,
Yeah.
well, typical Florida summer.
Yeah. Been a very well. It's been an atypical West Virginia summer. It was brutal heat.
Yeah.
My lawn looks like it's plaid, with brown patches and green.
Oh, we've had a lot of rain up here north. We had some effects from Hurricane Debbie.
Mm.
So yeah. Well, good. Glad to have you both. I didn't know if I'd be alone tonight, which that's okay. I got a call today that changed my life. My grandson, who's just turned 19, told me that I'm the best worst comedian that he's ever met. So I asked him, "Am I the worst best or the best worst?" It was either or. Now I'm confusing myself. It was one of those, but either way, I was very proud.
Oh. Charlie?
Charlie, yeah.
All right.
So as you guys probably know, I'm a widower, and so I'm home alone
Yeah.
with me and my cat. And I'll be doing comedy 12 years in December of this year coming up.
Oh,
And I should have quit long ago, but I just can't. It's like, there should be an AA for comedy wannabes, right, Jim?
yeah, I think so.
It's an
I'm
addiction.
Jim Bob, and I'm a comedian.
Yeah.
Hi, Jim Bob.
Yeah. How many years has it been since you told your last joke? Well, I got off the wagon today. My grandson Freddie is here. He's almost 10, and he's tired today. He said, "Dad, Grandpa, this is a no joke zone today."
Oh, no.
Oh,
Well, a comedian has no honor in his own home.
Right, there you go. That's a t-shirt right there.
Yeah.
You become a comedian when you're on the road at least 100 miles away from your home.
Yeah.
That's how that
although,
goes.
to offer you an encouraging note,
Yes.
a friend of mine, he's one of my closest friends for 40 years now. When I told him I was going into comedy, he asked me, "What are you doing?" And I explained. He says, "You're not a wannabe comic. You are a comic." Okay? Says, "You may not be a very successful comic. You may not be a very proficient comic." Okay. But if you're going to keep showing up for open mics, if you're going to keep writing jokes, getting getting razzed and responses in social media there, if you're if you're taking classes, you're going to workshops, you are. So just take wannabe or off your resume and just
There you go. Well, I got to say, Jim Bob, do you go by Jim or Jim Bob?
I've been going by Jim Bob. Yep.
Okay, Jim Bob.
Yeah, Williams is the third most common name in America, so I need something to separate myself from the crowd.
Okay, I get it. Yeah. So I want to say that on Facebook, I read your jokes, and they are excellent. They're really of high quality, and I'm not just fluffing up. I've seen you different places, and I've made that note before that you're a very good comedy writer. So, keep doing what you're doing. Be encouraged,
Okay.
Ed and I have known each other. How many years has it been, Ed?
Let's see, about 11, I think.
Yeah, I think so. And that's why my 12th, beginning of my 12th year starts in December, because we've known each other 11 years.
Yeah. It all started when Charles told me about you, and I talked to you. Then I started to go to your show, and then you made me a co-host, and then we had many. Remember the wigs 10 years ago?
I have the wigs picture somewhere. Yeah.
That's fail-safe. There's always my wig.
The wig is always a hit, Ed.
The blonde wig, yeah.
It's always a hit. Your go-to.
Well, I have 3, but the blonde works.
Yeah.
If anything happened, want your, just don't burn my wig, please.
And does your t-shirt say Goy, G-O-Y? Or
Oh, this is a custom. I
Customer, okay.
customized it. Well, there's a story behind it. So
All right.
it all started with, I get comically annoyed after everywhere I go to the store, buy a bottle, talking about survey. All these surveys people ask you to fill every time.
Yeah.
Now, I get that they want to be good, give us service, but I spent 2 minutes buying a bottle of Tylenol. You want me to do a 10-minute survey now?
Yeah.
Well, and if it did say Goy, we were gonna have to ask for proof. I'm just saying. So I'm glad
Yeah.
it said Goy.
Yeah, let's just say I'm a coy kind of guy,
Yeah, well, okay.
But then I also got to thinking, now it goes both ways. I started, where this is a case where some of my humor caused me to be serious. I said, look, I'm going to send you a survey. Was I a good customer? Did I pay promptly?
Right,
And the other thing, the late John Panette brought up a good one about long lines. Get out of the line. The people in the line, they can't make up their mind. I know what I want when I get out of the car.
Yeah.
And the line, like the three people behind you, the worst part is getting stuck behind somebody ordering for a whole family. And I just want to get my hamburger and fries, and I can't. But all that to say this, for businesses to continue to thrive, we need to be the best customers we can be too.
Yes.
And there is an element of truth to that. And so I have actually gotten several compliments at one of my grocery stores that I really enjoy shopping at. In fact, I applied for part-time work there. I expect to hear from them any day.
Really?
Yeah.
What are you gonna do there?
Oh, as little as possible. No, I'd like to, just, something basic, not bad groceries, part-time stock, sweep the floor, whatever you want, Well, I'll say within reason, I don't want to work in a deli because quite frankly, I'm afraid of slicing the meat slicer. See, I may be bold in one.
Speaking of circumcisions, Ed,
Yeah.
No, I would be
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I would be circumcised in the last 2 letters, circumcised.
Don't put them anywhere near a meat slicer. That's all we're saying.
It goes, this opens up a whole arena for discussion now.
Mm-hmm.
You've heard it said that for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. I say for every virtue, there can be an equal and opposite fault.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, it gets more complex than that. Some people are bold by nature, some are more shy by nature, but for me, it's a situational thing. I could be bold as a lion in one arena and not so bold in another.
Wow.
For instance, this is kind of comical. In fact, I did my first stand-up comedy at CCA with the topic roach phobia. Mind you, I don't like it, but it's kind of comical when I see guys talk about it's a little, we're talking about a little dinky roach. It doesn't even have a backbone stuffed it on it. I don't like it, but it's when I see people just go stark raving loony. And I had a friend in the roommate, one time he saw a roach, I thought, said, Steve, I think the roach is dead.
He drowned.
You're not trying to kill me too, are you?
Yeah.
No, I thought he's going to use a whole can of rain on just one roach.
Yeah.
Yeah, people freak out at insects. I don't get, especially women. I'm sure guys do. Women.
No fewer than 3 times, twice at church, and then I had a boss who was a woman, and she was no wimp either, by the way. I'm sitting in the office. She was actually a Christian. Was talking, shooting the breeze. She saw this little palmetto bug, and I thought she was going to vapor off. Take care of it. Joey will take care of it. And I said, I'm putting myself in for the Purple Heart. So the next day, she cuts a heart out of a piece of purple paper and gives it to me. I still have,
Oh, let's see.
Killed the bug.
yeah. I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting for all kind of awards, my Congressional Medal of Honor, my Purple Heart, my Shaw Medal of Honor.
You should have at least a trophy with a cockroach on it or something.
No.
And I mean, when I think of all that I've gone through in life, I'm still waiting for my Medal of Valor, or Medal of Honor. Like that's gonna.
Yeah. So I was thinking today, I've gone through different degrees and changes in comedy. Most recent, I had laid comedy down for about a year because of my wife's illness. But I felt the Lord say, take it up again. And I shared this with Ed the last time. So I started to write and practice my bits over and over. And then because of how I'm wired spiritually, God said, I don't want you to do that, John. I want you to just improv it. Jim Bob is the best way to describe it. Just get on the stage and just release what you have. And the way that it functions best with me is when it's organic. Like I'm a preacher. So when I preach, I'll be preaching a serious subject, but then God will move this into a comedy bit or a joke that I've written. And it's funny, I could have written 10 jokes yesterday, but if I'm preaching, God will give me a joke that I wrote 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Like the Holy Spirit will kick up
Yeah.
the joke. And I believe it's the joke that the people need to hear for that time.
Yeah.
Have you ever experienced any of that, Jim Bob, on the stage?
A lot of times. Okay. It was, I, for example, I like to do, I'm an elder in my church. And so about once a month I get to do the announcements before the worst part there. And I find that if I throw a few lines in there, it will ease the mood and relax people and kind of, prepare them for.
Oops.
And so it's like, for example, I don't know why I did this. Oh, maybe I do know why I did this. I wanted to give this guy a hard time. Guy came in and visited. He's, been a preacher in our area for a long time. Hadn't been in our church for a couple of years. Okay, but he came in and I saw him in the back row, and I said, "Oh, it's a pleasure to welcome Brother Mike Hall here today." Mm-hmm. Yeah, Mike, haven't seen you around for a while. How's witness protection going for you?
Oh.
I mean, it just came to me. It's like I didn't, I hadn't planned. I hadn't planned on having a joke for him. I hadn't planned on that particular joke. But the thought was it would the incongruity of somebody, being outed in witness protection at a church. I thought that had comic potential. And a lot of times I've, got it, and sometimes it works the other way. I have a joke, and oh boy, I'm all excited to do it, and then I'll just get the sense that no, it's wrong. Okay, and I'll find out that no, don't make a joke about driving because someone might have, and I didn't know that they had been in a car accident that week. So no, they don't need to, they don't, so it's like, okay, I'd intended to make that joke, but I didn't make that joke, or I was about to say it, and then all of a sudden, it was like I could felt the supernatural hook, pulling me off stage, saying, "No, not that one. Save it for another time."
Yeah, and I really see how those organic ones are the most real.
Yeah.
And I think that is really what we're supposed to be doing. I mean, I've studied comedy for 12 years, and I've heard people say it's practiced spontaneity. That stand-up comedy is practiced spontaneity.
Yeah.
So I think that's called a lie. Okay. Practice it's either spontaneous or it's not. And for me, anyway, the way that I function, people can tell when I'm being spontaneously funny or practiced. I used to, when I preach in my church, I used to practice bits. Ed's been to my church. Maybe he's seen this. I've practiced bits. And I had a guy from the back room, one of the elders, shout out, "Don't practice your comedy in church." He knew it wasn't by revelation, that I went from my heart to my head. And that for me is not the way it's supposed to go. So now here's a question. Ed, you can chime in on this too. How does it go with you when you say the first thing that comes to your mind when it's funny? Do you say the first thing that comes to your mind, or do you edit?
So as far as improv, what you're thinking. For me, my so-called improv moments haven't really been on the stage. It's been in my real life, dealing with certain people.
Mhm.
Most notably, I had a customer on the phone, and he was all the way from California. He was a lawyer, and at first he's kind of difficult. He said, "You need to put a bug in your director's ear." So I instantly said, "What kind of bug should I use, sir?" And all of a sudden he busted up laughing, and then he just changed his comments. And then from then on, he calmed down, and then he was able to explain stuff in a more calm manner. It was an interactive icebreaker, if you will.
Cool. There you go. You're like
not so much. Like I said, do I do impromptu? Really, not so much on the stage, but sometimes I have my moments. Like I'll say something to a coworker, it just sort of comes to my mind.
Mm.
I'll tell you what's funny is I'll say something meaning to be humorous and then get taken seriously, which could also be funny.
Yeah.
I told this one person, a funny part, she knows that the comedian. I said, "Now, I know it's early in the morning. I might have to stand on my head to wake everybody up here." And so, no, customers might be coming in. I said, "Denise, I'm not really gonna do this." I was joking.
Not literal.
Or when a person takes something literal, when when I obviously wasn't trying to be funny, I thought it was.
Yeah.
But she thought I was gonna stand on my head.
Yeah, those are those spontaneous, unplanned moments and so on. What about you, Jim Bob? Do you usually just spout off the first thing that comes to you?
I used to do that.
Okay. Uh-oh.
Yeah, because I was just too eager. I had to throw that punchline out there. I wanted my share of the oxygen in the room or whatnot.
Okay.
And then it was like, I forget what it's. Yeah, I'm trying to remember the verse. It'll come to me anyway. But it may not be a verse. Maybe something Lincoln said. A wise man, keeps his, keeps his tongue. Okay.
Right. Holds his tongue or something like that.
Yeah, or a fool keeps his mouth shut and his thought wise. Okay.
Right.
Or opens his mouth and reveals all doubt. Anyway, I'll clean up that quote later. But
it's somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, but it just found that if I just took a breath, okay, waited a beat, it was usually more effective than jumping right in. Yeah, and I think that beat was kind of a internal checklist. It says, "All right, you find this hilarious. However, who are you talking to? Are they going to, what are they going through? Are they going to find anything? And and maybe it's almost like a quarterback looking for a receiver, checking down and see which which lane is really open for the
right.
But of course most of the jokes I throw out are bombs anyway. So
yeah, well, or a Hail Marys, whatever religion you are, Yeah, I get that. I've been in the habit of just saying the first thing that comes to mind. But I will say, Jim Bob, waiting a beat is extremely wise. And I've learned I will wait a beat and I will ask God, should I say this?
No.
It'll take an instant. Let me give you an example. A good friend of mine just passed away. His name's Howard.
Hmm.
5 years ago, he called. I hadn't seen him in years. He called me on the phone. He said, JPPP, I just had a stroke.
Mm.
So we're talking a little bit. Then this thing pops in my head. And I say, God, should I say this? And God said, yeah. I said, well, Howard, don't worry about it. It's actually a good thing because now you can do a great impersonation of Porky the Pig. That's all, folks. And he laughed and laughed. And he said to me without stuttering, thank you. I needed that.
Oh,
But that could have really gone south.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think comedians definitely live on the edge. And that's why I always have my car running in the parking lot, ready for a quick escape.
Well, looking back to that lawyer I talked to in California, that was, look, in retrospect, a calculated risk, because what if he didn't laugh and he called my boss and complained about it?
Mhm.
Well, what did you do?
Yeah. Yeah. So we have to, I think comedians are very courageous. We take chances.
It's
I
not
know
easy being a funny man. It really
it's
is.
not. And especially when you first start, like from the beginning until right now, when most of your stuff bombs.
Well, more than the prep work, a lot of a comedy, as you said yourself, John, tragedy plus time equals comedy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff I shared on the stage, or even with other people, it's funny now, but it wasn't when I went through it.
Yeah. 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 I did a bit in a local rec center, and the lady that was running it pulled me off the stage. She said, "You've offended everybody, right?
Mm.
You better put the little girl with the violin up, right?" So I do that. And afterwards, she said, "Well, you only offended 50% of the room." So that's my standard now. If I only offend 50%, I'm killing it. I didn't change the spectrum, you know.
Well,
Sure. Yeah, because you can't get 100% of the laughs you want 100% of the time. Right?
No.
well, and no matter where you perform, you're not going to reach everybody. Usually not.
Yeah.
And once I was with a group, I told you this. I apologize for the reruns. Some of us from our church administered to people at ALF. Some saying I did my comedy. People were roaring, and some of the people were asking, "Oh, when are you coming back?" And this one person, and I don't mean to be unkind, but I don't think she has a funny bone in her body. She's just so deadpan. Goes, "Oh, let me give you a critique on your show." And after she was done, I'm thinking, I'd like to tell you what I think about your critique. Now, I do get good pointers sometimes, but not that. But I mean, nobody else had a problem. But she had to. It's like, wait a minute, you're trying to critique my humor, and yet you really don't seem like you even know the first thing about comedy.
Yeah. Put them on the stage in front of an audience, watch them soil themselves, then they can critique you.
I mean, I'm not talking. At another time when I tried to just share a one-on-one joke with her, she shut me down. I said, point blank, do you even have a sense of humor?
Yeah. A lot of people don't. So, Jim Bob, tell us about one of your bombs.
Oh,
what's your worst bombing story you can remember?
Ooh.
Access that painful hidden part of your memory.
Yeah, because
you've tried to block it out.
I think the human psyche tries to bury those moments. Boy. But let's say that's a deep vein to mine here as far as that. Maybe I'll say jokes I wish I would have delivered someplace else.
Okay. There you go.
Yeah. Ooh. It was kind of strange. I was invited to do a set at a bar. Okay. And the comic that went up before me totally blew.
Okay.
BLUE, just to make it.
Oh, no,
Okay.
no.
Okay.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. So then I get up there and I'm looking at look at the crowd and, stuff. And I just, so I did my, standard set at the time. Okay. And it took, I know it, I got a lot of crickets. Okay. It was like they, they needed the expletive to let them know when the funny part was.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay. Uh, and so I felt I was going. Then at the very end of it, uh, did a little crowd work and, talked about how my son was in quality engineering, and this guy says, yeah, I'm in quality. I says, oh, so you understand, you understand Six Sigma, and the guy goes, yeah, and we got a rapport, and then that table started laughing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All
because
right.
that one of my routines is about I've got three sons, and I was an engineer. My wife's an English major. We had a friendly bet over what careers the kids were going to go into, and I had one son that went into journalism. I said, okay, that's a win for the English teachers. Okay. Another son became a Japanese major with a minor in English. All right, that's another win for the language family. English majors 2, engineers 0. So my third son became an artist. I'll call that a draw. Okay, I got and this, but over time, the one that the one that does artwork is now supervising computer animators. The one that got into Japanese school is recruiting Japanese engineers, and the third son is a quality engineer. Yeah, this
Serious.
taking engineering classes live. So sooner or later, the inner nerd is going to win.
There you go.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
So I did finally get a laugh on that one with that table, and I
Okay.
considered. Now the one I really considered it as a win was 2 weeks later. A guy called up and said, the guy that billed me the first time, he invited me back, and I was like, I thought why are you inviting me back? I was, he said, you're the only one I know that does clean material, and I'm going,
Oh,
and
wow.
we need somebody for the little county fair was going on.
Okay.
So he was having a hard time finding people who did clean stuff, but he remembered that I did that, and
Right.
I wasn't. Yeah. He said, "Yeah, things weren't going well, but you were, you were keeping it going. You're trying to
There
find
you go.
something to dial into the audience with."
Right.
Yes.
Right.
So that's kind of a long answer to a short question, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that is definitely a promotion for clean comedy. It's definitely more marketable.
Oh, this is one that just maybe God's works his hand here is that when I was the very first open mics I did were at a local coffee shop, and there was a woman that came to one open mic there, and although it was billed as family friendly, whatnot, she decided to be anatomically correct, and yeah, okay. The owner of the coffee shop threw her out of the place. Okay, okay. So at this county fair a couple weeks ago, okay, look around, who's on the bill? I said, "Oh my goodness, that's a woman that got thrown out of the coffee
Oh
shop."
no, at the county fair.
Yeah, I'm going, oh, yeah, and she goes, you know, it's better to work clean. And I says, it makes you work harder to come up with a really funny joke, yeah, and more people are willing to hire you. And I'm
Yeah.
going, okay. She learned that through the School of Hard Knocks.
Oh, she said that to you.
Yeah, and
Oh my.
I was like, okay, and she's had a lot of tragedy in her life. In between, from there to here, she's
Okay.
very active in local, clubs, bars.
Okay.
That scene, and her, and she will go blue still, but when it's,
Okay.
it's like, maybe you should call that potty training, you know,
Mhm.
when and where that it's not that, but so I'm hoping for her that she's better things for her, but
Yeah. 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 Well, that's a good lesson. That's a good lesson. Yeah. So the other thing I was thinking about 2 days ago, and I'm feeling the Holy Ghost, strangely enough, welcome your presence, God, is for me. Now, I've had to find my comedy voice. It's taken 12 years to figure out my comedy voice was who I was before I tried to find my comedy voice.
Mm.
But because of the way I'm wired, I'm a preacher and a prophet. So I give a lot of prophecies. I interpret dreams. That's just how God works. Ed knows me for a lot of years.
Yeah.
Um, I'm more of a preacher. I'm not a stand-up comedian alone. I'm a preacher primarily. That's where I was trained, went to Bible school. And then God throws in 12 years ago the comedy. So my go-to is preaching, and then the comedy comes in. Like I said, it comes spontaneously in the moment.
Mhm.
So for me, I am in the comedy ministry. For my Johnny Mind mindset, I am in the comedy ministry, which makes it a whole different animal. Um, a lot of it can be financially. I'm not necessarily going someplace to tell jokes and get paid.
Mm.
All right. I'm going to a place to preach, and then God gives the joke. Is this making any kind of sense? This is a new pattern of thought that I've had in the past couple of days. Make any sense?
No, every opportunity is an appointment, right? And don't mean to go all Presbyterian on you, but this is, it's I'll call it a Presbyterian coincidence. You get an invitation to speak at a particular place and a particular time to a particular audience, and that's Act 17, God laying out the lines of our habitation. That
Well, that's good.
yeah,
That's good. Yeah,
yeah,
that's very.
we are in that place at a certain time, to deliver a, at a minimum, just to deliver a witness. Yeah, and then if that comes in as as an opportunity to minister,
Right.
and maybe so it's maybe the ministry is in the set, maybe it's in the discussions in the green room before going on, maybe it's it's all that can be used.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Ed, what about you? Do you think you're more of a ministry comedian or more want to be like a professional stand-up?
Um, Probably more ministry, because it's not, for one thing, it's not what I do on stage. It's who I am.
Mm.
Right.
Yeah.
Ed the Man. It was actually, I gave myself that nickname even before I was doing comedy as much as I am now, because it all started because I seem to be, the equivalent that, even though I never received formal medical training, I seem to always forever walk into walking wounded individuals.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
And as time went on, I said, God, if I'm going to keep on walking, if I'm going to keep on, I'm by no means a professional counselor, but if I'm going to keep walking into these people, I'd like to improve my serve.
Mm.
Even if I am only the first line of defense, as it were.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah. That reminds me, the scripture says, whatsoever you do, do heartily as unto the Lord and not unto men.
Yep.
Really, what we're doing, even making jokes,
Yeah.
we're doing it with all of our heart. It's not like, the guy that gets up after work and he has these 10 jokes that he's memorized and he always has those. we put work into it.
Yeah.
You know, I've put 12 years of attempted comedy writing. You know, I've gone through jokes in the beginning that were very, very simple. They were like, you know, first grade jokes. And now I would like to think that my jokes have grown a little bit in sophistication and, you know, have gotten a little bit better anyway. But I have put a lot of work into this. Ed, you have too. We've gone to conferences, Christian Comedy Association. I'm involved with Robert G. Lee's writing group. Matter of fact, I have a Zoom meeting tomorrow. I'm looking forward. So I am putting all my heart into it. I tried to give it up. You know, I shared that. I tried to give it up, but the Spirit of God said, no, John.
I'm kind of like you. I've kind of gone through, well, humanly speaking, kind of a dry spell as far as doing on stage stuff goes. It's kind of,
yeah,
in part because of COVID. That's sort of put a damper on stuff.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah.
And unfortunate, even though the alerts, even though it's really been downgraded, you know, forevermore, a lot of the damage is still there.
Yes, I agree with you. I agree with you.
And sometimes I see people. Now maybe there's a reason I don't know about, but once in a while I still see people wearing masks, and I'm thinking, come on.
Well, sometimes if they're elderly, and it's I have
Not
some
even
people.
elderly. I don't even mean elderly. Some of them are young.
Okay.
Maybe you have an illness that I don't know about. Like, what?
Yeah.
All
right. Well,
I wore my mask was when I was required to.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. All right, we are gonna finish up here, but do I have your permission to put this on Facebook, you guys?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And I will target it for other people interested in comedy. I think this has been a really good discussion. I have learned some major things. That whole thing about the lines of habitation, Jim Bob, I am going to look again in the scripture. That's huge. That is a huge revelation with comedy. So as we close out here, if there's one or two things you could say to the comedians or whether they're professional or just doing it for the Lord, what would you say? Could you give a short message to whoever comedian watches this?
You know, whether you write your own jokes or do totally impromptu, there's something, you know, I love the word spontaneity, or it has to come from the heart. You know, and it's not just my comedy. A lot of it's witnessing now. I've seen so you know, we gotta go out and have the gospel. We gotta go out. Now, for me anyway, and maybe God wires people differently. For me anyway, my best witnessing is when I'm walking down the street and it just opens up naturally.
Right. Yeah.
That being said, I want to be receptive to when God wants to speak to someone.
Yeah.
Very good.
Best piece of advice I was ever given when I went on stage to do improv was don't leave your wallet in the green room. Yes.
Don't leave your wallet in the what?
In the green room.
In the green.
Okay.
But seriously, no. The advice I would give is, persist. Okay.
Yeah.
And that every failure is learning opportunity. If the joke didn't land the first time, reassess it, reassess how you're telling it, reassess, how it's structured, seek the counsel, and many counselors has found wisdom. I think going to a Robert G. Lee session and listening to, having that critique of the joke is very, very useful. Well, his class is wonderful, but beyond good.
Well,
yeah.
Even you can even be like, I can use spontaneous humor even in witnessing. Like most notably, my stepdad was an Italian New Yorker. Which, again, apologize, John, you heard, but I said, well, I'm still praying for your dad. He said, oh, get the hell. I said, that's what I'm trying to do, and you've commissioned me.
Okay. Well, thank you. If I would leave anything, the Bible says, "For out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh." So I think if we just keep putting comedy, good, godly, clean comedy in our mind, whether we're writing it or watching other comedians, so certainly there's going to come a point where our heart gets so full to overflowing, we will radiate the godly kind of comedy. Put good things, put the word of God, the presence of God, and put good, clean, God-directed comedy. And you're going to slop all over the place with healing comedy. And certainly that's what we need in this age, time, and culture. So